Hello, everybody, and welcome to the next bonus episode of Cities Skylines. And today we are showcasing off the first major city that I built in this game. This is the very first one that I really started taking seriously, but I did make some mistakes with it. And this time, I will tell you, it is Landlock. I introduced and mentioned Knight's River as Landlock a number of times in that videos or in that showcase. Unfortunately, I was referring to the wrong city. And as you can see, they're both on the same map, the Two Rivers map. This is my favorite map. It's also the map that Knight's Helm is also on. So, anyhow, this is, like I said, the city that I really started getting serious with, or I should say my first serious city in the game. You'll see some familiar landmarks hanging around here that I like to use. So anyhow, let's just go ahead and dive right into this city of Knight's Helm. Now, you might see some Zots floating around. That is because this city I have not been playing for a very long time. So there are some mods that may be interfering and other issues going on, but I really don't care because we're just showing off the city. We're not going to actually try to play this city. So we can see it's up to 148,000 people. Losing people, that might be because of, again, a mod. I may have accidentally enabled the, I think it's called realistic population mod, because I use another mod to load and save the list of mods that I use. So for instance, when I play Knight's Helm, I load a specific list of mods for that city, and then for all other cities I have another whatever list of mods, and one of those you'll see down here is the extended info panel that I may have in Knight's Helm soon. But anyhow, um, enough about the mods. You can also probably tell I'm using the real-time mod, which is kind of cool. Time in the game is a little more realistic, and Sims actually behave on a kind of a 9 to 5 schedule. So let's just go ahead, jump right into the city. Unlike my other cities where I always put something right in the center and I used roundabouts, I did not do that in this game. However, right here, this intersection, this interchange, is right about here. This is where the first road connection for the city was right here. And of course, that's why I have industrial right here, because I wanted that close to the freeway. And then the heights, Lower Riverside, South Riverside, Steel Canyon, and so on and so forth, they came about later. This was just a road at long ago. It was Mac Road. I have no idea where the name came from. A while back when I was playing this game, and I was playing it a lot, I would be playing it until 2, 3, 4 in the morning. And sometimes at 2 or 3 or 4 in the morning, you just have these ideas, and then the next day you have no idea where they came from. But this was the main drag of Landlock at one time. But unfortunately, it has been turned into a freeway. Now, it does help the traffic a lot, and it's why I wanted to put a freeway down the middle of Knight's Helm, because it really does help the traffic through the city. However, as I discussed already in that city, it was just going to obliterate anything I had, and there was just no way to do it because of the roundabouts that I put in there. I was hoping that I could hook in the freeway to them. I didn't. Again, enough about the other city. So, Mag Expressway, and then this here, Gauntlet Street, was kind of the other main east, well, actually north-south drag in the city. We've got over here in the Lower Riverside, just some low density residential. As you can see, just like all my other cities, I tend not to group commercial, but I did do that over here in Atlas Park, and you can see it's just a huge commercial thing. But in general, I tried to keep commercial not grouped a lot. You will see a lot of it here, and you're going to see some over here, especially office. That's because of something that I'll discuss when I get over to those parts of the city. So yeah, Lower Riverside and the Heights were kind of the first part of the city. Then came about Steel Canyon and the Needle. Now, as I mentioned with Knights River Landlock also, I created little stories for each of them, and the Needle is so called because, not because of this Space Needle that is right there, but because this was the old tailor district. So there were seamstress and other tailor shops mostly clustered in here, so it just became known as the Needle. The Space Needle came much later. So, this was all, of course, low residential, and there actually was a whole bunch of residential and some commercial along here at one point, but when this turned into a freeway, it just kind of turned into an open green space. And the same over here, it's an open green space. Now, this city predates park life by almost a year, probably even a year and a half. So I really don't have any things in there. If I had park life, I would have had a whole bunch of little just things for people to do in there. The Mac Expressway continues on up, or I should say continues east. At one time, I tried putting in this little thing, you remember this from Knight's Helm, you can see the freeway went around that rock. And I tried putting some park things in here, but I didn't want to put roads in here. And I was using something to plop them down. I think it was Move It. And unfortunately, they would just catch fire or crime or trash because nothing could get to them, so I just deleted them all. Anyhow, so Upper Riverside and North Riverside came about later. They were, I think, the first real high density in the city was kind of in this area right here of Upper Riverside. And there's really not a lot to these neighborhoods. I didn't come up with a lot for them. I will say that North Riverside was a holdout. I'm going to high density. I had this as low density for a very long time, and it wasn't until, gosh, I would say only about 2 or 3 saves prior that it actually turned into that. And you can probably see, just like with all my other cities, I do the same thing. I have major roads don't go through neighborhoods. Neighborhoods are just served by a couple of roads. And I also did something in this city that is just a really time-consuming thing, but it works out really well. You've probably noticed a lot of pedestrian paths. And I worked on putting down pedestrian paths everywhere. You can see they're through here. They go through parks. They go through the middle. They go up and over the roads. In fact, I did it so that pedestrians don't have to cross the roads, just to keep the traffic a little bit better. You know, all the way through here, pedestrian pathways into Perez Park. Excuse me. Oh, my apologies. I just realized I don't have any music going. There we go. Yeah, just tons of pedestrian pathways that I started putting down, and they ended up going into I should say that really didn't start until I really got the city up to about here, where I call the loaf. And the reason for that is because that district, I don't know why, again, it was like a 3 in the morning thing, just reminded me of a loaf of bread. Don't ask, that just was the case. So then that's when I just said, I was trying to connect this pedestrian pathway across, and then I just thought, hey, they really like these pedestrian pathways. fact, if you look down here, well, they're not using them so much now, but it could be the time of day. So I actually have it where you can actually follow a singular path all the way from, actually I think it branched off all the way from down here in Mill Heights, all the way through the Crescent, all the way up through Powerhouse, or did it, I'm sorry, it did come back over to here to Boomtown, all the way up, follows up here, you can see it goes around there, comes in, goes through this park into Helmet District. It just allows Sims to get wherever they want. And that was just a lot of fun to get that going. So anyhow, back to a little bit more about the city. This was the core. Right here, Commerce Park. This, actually, I was planning to put a freeway here at one point. So that's why these two neighborhoods to the east and the west of it, because they'll put north to the upper, or up top of the screen, this was going to be a freeway, so that's why I just left this blank. Eventually, I just gave up on the freeway idea, and that's where Commerce Park came in. It is a cluster of commercial and industrial. This predates even industries, so I don't have IT. Otherwise, I probably would have made that an IT, whatever that is, IT cluster. But and it worked out fairly well. And at the same time, since it was something that was just going in new, again, I decided to put in the World Trade Center. And this was the first city that I put the World Trade Center in. And let me tell you, it was a right pain in the butt to get that thing put in there because it is just a huge landmark. You probably remember seeing me put it into Knight's Helm and how much work it takes. But again, it is just a really good landmark. It really does make a city look like a city. So, also that avenue that, of course, is part of the World Trade Center is also that bridge. So I thought it was really kind of nice how you can just come right across that bridge, boom, right between World Trade Center 7 and I think these are 3 and 4. I don't remember what they were, but and then just right into Commerce Park and right into the concrete spaghetti. Oh dear goodness, look at that. Isn't that just a mess? And yet somehow it all works. And that was all put in there, and then the monorail came in much later. And this was before I was really learning how to use Move It to its full extent. So my monorail lines on my roads, you can see, they're really kind of sloppy in their heights. I mean, just look how high this is over that one. There's no need for that at all. But I was really not paying attention to it at the time. So I've refined my my aesthetics in my roads a little bit since then. But this concrete spaghetti, somehow it works. And it also is kind of the nexus of all the pedestrian pathways in the city. Coming over to the Helmet District, which is just the next spot that I'm at. This I was so named because a lot of world headquarters just decided to set up shop in this district. So the Helmet, it became known as the Helmet because it protected those various world headquarters. And it has its own train station, its own freight station, and aside from Colossal Order and the Empire State Building, no real distinct buildings in there, but just think of a lot of them as world headquarters for various companies around the world. And again, you can see there's that continuation of that pedestrian pathway as it just comes in and goes over here into this industrial area, comes out, and then goes over to Lakeside. So it's amazing where it goes. It also has a monorail station. It's a 3-point one where the monorails come in and then back out and go the other way, but that was pretty much the only way I could get that to work. This little panda sanctuary is entirely funded by all the major companies in the Helmet. No public funding whatsoever, but yet it is open to the public. So I always thought, again, just a little story that I threw together for that particular neighborhood. Over here, we have Cowder Corner. And the whole reason it's called Cowder Corner is this was the first off-grid road in the entire city right here. Everything else, as you can see down here, was a grid. Grid. And then this was the first road that went, you know what, okay, boom, we're at a diagonal. It's only this very short bit, but that was it. And Cowder Corner, Cowder being a piece of armor, which I thought was, cute, but also Cowder Corners kind of sounds like Counter Corner, and anyhow, I believe that was a 4A thing. The wedge, so-called, because it was just kind of literally wedged in here, because things built around it. Again, there was going to be a freeway coming in here, and I think this was going to be yet another interchange right here where the World Trade Center is, with the bridge coming over. The first thing you could do is go boom straight up to Market Square, but that didn't happen, so it ended up being the wedge. And then I have this little overpass for pedestrians, because at that time I didn't have this mod, which allows you to just put down crossings right on the road. But it also helps just the traffic to get through there. Let's see, heights. I'm going to back up to a little bit more of the beginning of the city. The heights, I think, actually I said over here was the first high density. I take it back. I believe it was the heights, and that's why it's so named. So it was where the first high density commercial and residential were. Right here at the Double G is where Gauntlet Street crosses Gath Street. The Double G. And anyhow, that's just what that is. The first major train station in the city. Kind of unrealistic with the rails coming in at these weird angles and going out, but it was about the best I could do with the way that the rails were. And you can also see this is the first city where I started doing my separation of freight from passenger, and you can see right here, this is why I do that. Look at that. I mean, the freight is just backed up ridiculously. Just ridiculous, and there's just so difficult to control that freight traffic. But anyhow, continuing down this way, Boomtown. This big, long plaza right through it, Boomtown Plaza as I call it. So named, or not so named, was just something that I thought would be really nice to have that kind of view of the CN Tower there, straight through. And I didn't realize it when I built it, but from this side, you can also get, if I can get the camera, a nice view of the Empire State Building going the other direction. So, and then you can see I continued on with the elevated pedestrian. And this is very popular. They really like this elevated system here. So it helps, and it gets them right into the Tower District. I spent a lot of time designing this, and I'm really proud of it. I think it is one of my favorite recreational areas that I've created in a game. Again, all prior to Park Life. I just think it looks really cool. And that bus just went in. Let's see if I can catch another bus coming in. I gotta get out of this view. The Crescent Express might be the one I'm looking for. I can't remember. But I just really like the way it looks, even at a street level view. As you get in there, I'm hoping this bus will turn. There we go. Even at a street level view, I just think this looks really nice. I think this would be a really fun park to just hang out. I mean, the little girl there playing hopscotch right on the side of the road so she can get run over by the bus. And, you know, you've got the CN Tower there. You've got basketball courts. You've got a botanical garden. You've got the Japanese garden. There's, coming up here on the right, there's a carousel. Look at that. Just a really wonderful little park that I thought. is a fun place for my Sims to come and visit. So I spent a lot of time on that, and I think it worked out really well. So I also made a conscious decision when I was building this, again a story. This road here is called Kuros Boulevard. Yep, I know. It's or Kuros Drive, I'm sorry. Yep, it's a bit egotistical. But anyhow, you'll see this road just follows the side of the river, and you'll also notice something else. There's no development along it. In fact, one of the things that I decided as I was building it is nothing will be zoned on it. There's stuff that's very close to it, but nothing is actually zoned on it. So it's effectively, it's a scenic drive. And it isn't until you get way down here where it ends in this industrial area. When I was building the World Trade Center, the CN Tower, I thought, well, wait a minute, now I'm putting it right on Kuros Drive. Well, I don't want to do that. This is supposed to have no development on it. So I built this little side road and put it off there, and it worked out really well, I think. So, again, prior to Park Life, if I were playing this today, I'd probably have put some more stuff down here as well and extended those pathways over. Over here, we have the Crescent. This is kind of like my Asian mall area, I call it. So this is where all the really good food is at, as well as all the bootleg DVDs and whatever else you have, you know. And of course, there is, there he is right there. There's the RX-78 Gundam hanging out. I don't know what happened to the platform that it used to be on, but that's gone. And then, you can't have that without having the counterweight. There's the Zaku as well. So that's a couple of fun little things for people to come visit. And the Crescent is just kind of what I always figure is, exactly like I said, a whole bunch of Asian businesses, kind of like a Chinatown type thing. We have a airport. This was the first airport in the city. I don't remember what I called it. I called it Landlock International. So right here, it has my favorite station in the game, the monorail, metro, train, and these are always very popular. 776 passengers in the last minute, and there's just non-stop here between here and here. I'm sorry, between here and just various other areas of the city. And then it's always fun to watch all the people just spill out of the airport and going on to here. The powerhouse was my second industrial area of the city. Like I said, ignore the Zots. My guess is that's because of a transportation mod that's changed, so all their trucks are having issues. But the powerhouse, again, you can see I took the skywalks into consideration so that people don't have to use the roads or the cross at the road level. They do. You can see that person right there just did, but it keeps most of them off the roads. Let's see. I just have another giant industrial. In fact, I think this is oil specialty. Yep, all those oil derricks, and then the prison right there. Boom. We have a fusion power plant right here powering the entire city. We have a cargo train terminal, and you can see it is busy as heck. Woodvale, just another little residential area with some commercial. Let's come back up here. I have another Woodvale. I forgot that I had two of them. So, let's see. We did Powerhouse. We did that. We've gone down here. I don't have any. Nope, I don't have anything this way. We just have this little thing that kind of spills out this way. Is there a name for that? I don't remember what that's called. Young Hill. Okay. I think that's because I just named it after Young Street in Toronto. We've got Knight's Farm. Yay, okay, just some more areas. This is where I started playing with roads that didn't have to be a grid or straight. And I kind of like them. I think there's actually trams. Yep, there's trams that go around Young Hill. But not a lot to see there at street level. We have Kings Row. And again, not a lot really going on there. There's my two separated industrial and passenger rail, the monorail that goes across the river. I don't know if I'd ever do that again. That doesn't look very realistic, but anyhow. This giant Knights Summit and Knights Court. These are huge tracts of office, and that's because I built the Hadron Collider. Hadron Collider, and I didn't realize what it did. It all of a sudden caused my unemployment to skyrocket, because now all the kids, all the people that were going to school no longer had to go to school, so they were looking for jobs, and I just needed to zone office, 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 office. Just more and more office and office. So that's why this is a huge block of office. I have over here just another little industrial area, and this is when I was playing with Serpentine, where it's like in-out zipline type thing. So the traffic kind of comes in and then does this, and then I have these connectors as express. I've given up on this because I've just learned don't zone huge industrial blocks anymore, and it works out a lot better. Over here, we have Kuros International Airport, again with my favorite train station. And I was doing some separation of my roads, you can see here. So I've got one that I have Tower, Keep, and Castle Street. And the idea was, oh, look at that, Leela is taking off in the Planet Express ship there. Let's see how well she does. She's coming to the end of the runway. Come on, Leela. What are you waiting for? Is there inbound traffic? Is there inbound traffic? Yeah, there's inbound traffic, it looks like. Well, okay. We'll have to catch up with Leela later. So, anyhow, I had separated drives for the various modes of transportation there. Well, okay, now we got the plane coming in. Let's see. Vroom. And yeah, she's got to get the butt of the ship off the ground there. Whoa! Leela, right into the overpass. Dear goodness. She needs that second eye. She has really bad depth perception, doesn't she? Okay, anyhow. Up here, just some, low density housing. People that like to live right alongside the track because the railroad system is so efficient in Landlock, sans the industrial freight. But anyhow, huge monorail line that just goes over nowhere, and I'm going to show you where that goes pretty soon. We have the foundry. I think we already looked at that. Again, you can see there's my one way. You can see the traffic just kind of snaking through, and it goes out. It sort of works and it sort of doesn't. So over here we have Skyway City. I'm sorry, Lakeside and Lake End. I thought I called them Skyway City, but I didn't. This is where I really went overboard with the pedestrian overpasses. In fact, pedestrian traffic is not allowed to cross roads at street level. So I had to make certain they could get everywhere they needed to by using skywalks. So there's skywalks everywhere through Lake End and Lakeside. Just going all over, and you can see they really do use it a lot. Just really do enjoy using it. Or maybe not enjoy, but they really do use it a lot. Okay, so Hamadon Square, just another little low area, or low density area. Copper Canyon, this is an ore district, or is it? Okay, I had to use that joke, sorry. And then over here we have Briarwood District with Ulm Minster. I think that was actually featured in my little holiday message. I think it was like a screenshot from right about here. So anyhow, there's something they have over here, and it's called Rotunda. And I'm going to try this fairly in the future in Knight's End somewhere. This was inspired at about 2 in the morning again, and sorry about that. That was a cat. This was inspired at about 2 in the morning, and I just thought, okay, I'm going to do a bunch of concentric circles, and it works out really well, actually. I really do like it. It's also, what I did is I layered it. So I have in the middle, I have my commercial, and then city services in the very, very center. Commercial, office, high density, low density. And then I threw into the corners, office and commercial. And then over here I have the space elevator, the contemporary hotel, again 3 monorail lines coming into it, and the space elevator. Let me get a nice shot of that, because you can see the space elevator. I kind of regret putting it way over here because it's just, look at all the tourists it brings in. But thankfully they don't have a very long walk. They can go right here to the subway stop, or they can go to this train station right here. As you can see, they really like it. Or they can go to the Contemporary and pick up one of the 3 monorail lines to get around the city. So that's pretty much it for the Landlock. I really do hope you've enjoyed the city. Oh, and over here I have where I did a separation, so all freight must come in on its own, but it still doesn't really help because freight trains, you just can't control them, and they just spawn out of control here as well. I also do have same thing. I got a 2-for-1. Internal passenger trains come in, and just all they have to do is walk across the platform to get to the intra-city trains. So that worked out really well. And then the monorail line, they can take all the way up to the airport if they want to, through the airport and then through the city and so on and so forth. In fact, that monorail line, that one ends there, and then if they back out, they can come this way, follow, and down, and all the way through Mack Avenue, and that's where it ended. Okay, so I really hope you've enjoyed this episode. I hope you enjoyed, these showcase episodes, just to give you an idea of the things that I plan to do with my cities and Knight's Helm, and what it can possibly become in the future. So please, if you like what you see, hit that like button. Also hit the subscribe button, and I will see you in the next episode. Take care.